Savitri has discovered her soul. There is the great descent of the Mahakundalini into various centers of her subtle physical. Center after center is occupied by the divine power. The divine fusions, the original consciousness force from whom Savitri has come, that has established itself, a part of it, established itself in the soul of Savitri. There is a great change in nature that has already taken place in Savitri. The tantric transformation of the physical nature has been achieved. Not only that, as a result of that, the mortal limbs open themselves to the rush of the immortal's rapture and power. There is a rush of rapture and power in immortal limbs. The inner law of beauty starts shaping the life. The words become natural speech of truth. Each thought is a ripple on a sea of light. Such a big change has already taken place in Savitri. All her acts are in concordance with the acts of natural good. Everything serves the supernal right. Great change has taken place in Savitri. But there is a cry of victory. Yes, we have won. We have created heaven here. But that is not sufficient. Housing the divine power in the soul is one aspect of it. But the entire nature also now must open to the working of the divine power. And unless that happens, Savitri will not be able to meet death and win victory over death. However, the great change that has taken place has already brought about a change in the entire surroundings, the whole world, the forest, the hermitage, the people living in those places, animals, trees, flowers, they suddenly experience something marvelous, something remarkable, something very powerful that has happened. They do not know how this has happened, why this has happened, what is the cause behind it, but they do experience that great change. With that, Savitri's yoga has now to move forward. A calm, slow sun looked down from tranquil heavens. That Siddhi of Savitri has brought the calm of sun, the tranquility of heaven, and as a result of that, a routed, sullen rearguard of retreat. The last rain had fled murmuring across the woods, or failed a sibilant whisper, and the leaves and a great blue enchantment to the sky recovered the deep rapture of its smile. The rainy season is coming to an end. Is coming to an end. The routed rain has been defeated. The army is scattered in all random directions. It is like a defeated army moving in flight. Rear guard, the last section of army which will protect the rear of the army, that is also retreated. A routed Sanan, rear guard of retreat, the last range had fled, murmuring across the woods. They had gone away into the woods, vanished into the woods. If they had not disappeared, then they have failed. A sibilant whisper amid the leaves, with a kind of a hissing sound, the rains had disappeared into the forest. And a great blue enchantment of the sky is now clear, it is bright and blue, recovered the deep rapture of a smile. The cloud that had covered the sky, that has gone away, and there is the beautiful blue of the sky, and it is smiling now on this green, luxurious earth. Its mellow splendor, unstressed by storm-licked heats, found room for a luxury of warm mid-days. The night's gold treasures of autumn moons came floating, shipped to ripples of fairy air. If the day is bright and blue, and there is the luxury of warm days, the night is happy with the autumn moons drifting to the sky. The nice gold treasures of autumn moons, cloudless, clear autumn sky, came floating shipped through ripples of fairy air. These are the autumnal moons drifting in the sky, in the night sky. And Savitri's life was glad, fulfilled like earth. She had found herself. She knew her being's aim. And Savitri's life was glad, fulfilled like us. We could also say, and Earth's life was glad, fulfilled like Savitri's. It is the Earth's life it has become glad because the life of Savitri is fulfilled. We could read in the line, and Savitri's life was glad, fulfilled like Earth, and Earth's life was glad, fulfilled like Earth. She had found herself. She knew her being's aim. Although her kingdom of marvelous change within remained, unspoken in her secret breast. She has not told anything to anybody, to her parents-in-law, to her husband, to the rishis in the forest. She has not spoken anything to anybody. Remained unspoken in her secret breast. All that lived around her felt its magic's charm. The trees' rustling voices told it to the wind. Savitri is not going to tell, but the trees' rustling voices, they are going to tell it to the wind, and the wind is going to carry and tell to everybody. The trees' rustling voices told it to the wind. Flowers spoke in ardent hues and unknown joy. The birds' caroling became a canticle. It is a praise, it is a jubilation, a happiness which is being spoken of by nature, by the wind, by the birds, by the trees, by the flowers. Everybody is speaking of the newly found, newly felt happiness all around. And the bees forgot their strife and lived at ease. The whole nature is experiencing the tranquil heaven's gaze, absorbed in white communion with the unseen. The mild ascetics of the wood received a sudden greatening of their muse. They are withdrawn into their contemplation. The sages, the rishis, the great spiritual figures living the hermitages around, they are absorbed in great communion with the unseen. And they also feel a sudden greatening of their lonely muse of their contemplation, wherefrom their meditation has become suddenly rich, suddenly vast, suddenly luminous. They are themselves, in a certain sense, astonished. This bright perfection of her inner state poured overflowing into her outward scene. Savitri's perfection, it is that which is overflowing all around here, made beautiful, dull, common, natural things, and action wonderful, and time divine. Yes, one man's perfection, this is what we have seen here last time. One man's perfection still can save the world. It is that perfection of Savitri, that bright perfection of her inner state poured outflowing into her outward scene, made beautiful, dull, common, natural things, and action wonderful, and time divine. Absorbed in white communion with the unseen, that is a great spiritual experience. And the mother speaks of it in one of her prayers. Maybe we can read that prayer, that meditation of the mother in full. It is dated 26th November 1915. She is writing it that experience of hers to Shavendo in a letter. This is what she wrote to Shavendo. The entire consciousness immersed in divine contemplation, the whole being enjoyed a supreme and vast felicity. The entire consciousness. Then was the physical body seized, first in its lower members and next the whole of it, by a sacred trembling which made all personal limits fall away little by little, even in the most material sensation. The being grew in greatness progressively, methodically, breaking down every barrier, shattering every obstacle that it might contain and manifest a force and a power which increased ceaselessly in immensity and intensity. It was a progressive dilatation of the cells until there was a complete identification with the earth. That is what Savitri experienced, complete identification with the earth. And the consciousness knew that its global body was thus moving in the arms of the universal being. And it gave itself, it abandoned itself to it in the ecstasy of peaceful bliss. Then it felt that his body was absorbed in the body of the universe and one with it. The consciousness became the consciousness of the universe, immobile in its totality, moving infinitely in its internal complexity. The consciousness of the universe sprang toward the divine in an ardent aspiration, a perfect surrender, and it saw in the splendor of the immaculate light the radiant being standing on a many-headed serpent whose body coiled infinitely around this universe. The being, in an eternal gesture of triumph, mastered and created at one and the same time the serpent and the universe that issued from him. Erect on the serpent, he dominated it with all his victorious might, and the same gesture that crushed the Hydra, enveloping the universe, gave it eternal birth. Then the consciousness became this being and perceived that his form was changing once more. It was absorbed into something which was no longer a form and yet contained all forms. Something which, immutable, sees the eye, the witness, and what it sees is. Then this last vestige of form disappeared, and the consciousness itself was absorbed into the unutterable, the ineffable. The return toward the consciousness of the individual body took place very slowly in a constant and invariable splendor of light and power and felicity and adoration by successive gradations, but directly without passing again through the universal and terrestrial forms. And it was as if the modest corporeal form had become the direct and immediate vesture, without any intermediary, of the supreme and eternal witness. This is a letter which the mother sent to Shabando and to which he answered on 31st December 1915. His answer is as follows. Shabando writes to the mother, "The experience you had described is Vedic in the real sense, though not one which would easily be recognized by the modern systems of yoga, which call themselves Vedic. It is a union of the earth, of the Veda and Purana, with the divine principle. The earth, which is said to be above our earth. That is to say, the physical being and consciousness of which the world and the body are only images. But the modern yogas hardly recognize the possibility of a material union with the divine." So this is the experience the mother has absorbed in wide communion with the unseen. The mild ascetics of the wood received a sudden greatening of their lowly muse because of this identification of the earth with the original principle. This bright perfection of her inner state poured overflowing into her outward scene, made beautiful, dull, common, natural thing, and action wonderful, and time divine. Even the smallest measure, even the smallest, meanest work became a sweet or glad and glorious sacrament, an offering to the self of the great world, or a service to the one in each and all, a service to the one in each and all. That is the Upanishadic experience. What we have just seen, the Vedic experience of the mother. I think we'll take it up next time again. With the divine power established in the soul of Savitri, there is a great change which has taken place in her inner being. A tantric transformation of the inner nature has occurred. This bright perfection of her inner state was such that it spread all around her, in the trees, in the plants, in the forests, in the woods, in the hermitages of the rishis staying around. Everybody suddenly feels a greatening change in them. And all her actions, small trivial actions, daily household things, they acquired a kind of bright divinity. Some sort of psychic touch is present in every moment of hers. Even the smallest, meanest work became a sweet or glad and glorious sacrament, an offering with the cell of the great world, or a service to the one in each and all. A light invited all former beings light, from her transcendental beings light. A light is invading Savitri. Her heart beats dance, communicated bliss, the original bliss. Happiness grew happier, shared with her by her touch, and grief some solace found when she drew near. The grief was lessened. The moment Savitri drew nearer, when grief drew nearer, it found solace in the presence of Savitri. Above the cherished head of Satyavan, she saw not now fate. She saw not now fate's dark and lethal orb, a golden circle round a mystic sun, disclosed to her newborn preceding sight, the cyclic rondure of a sovereign life. So it is no more now human Satyavan which Savitri is seeing. Around him, around his cherished head, she sees a bright golden halo, the halo of the sun, or the supramental light around his head. Above the cherished head of Satyavan, she saw not now fate's dark and lethal orb, a golden circle around a mystic sun. This is what she sees around the head of Satyavan. And it discloses to her what? The cyclic rondure of a sovereign life. Through the ages, yuga after yuga, the kind of a life that is to come, it is that which is revealed to Savitri. A golden circle round a mystic sun, disclosed to her newborn predicting sight. She is going to see that thing tomorrow. The cyclic rondure of a sovereign life, deathless life. Inner visions and deep etched vertical dreams, true dreams, dreams which have the truth content in them, inner visions, in brief shiftings of the future's heavy screen, the screen is removed. He lay not by a dolorous decree. Now it is removed the Satyavan who is doomed to die. Savitri sees an immortal Satyavan already there in him. Inner visions and deep etched vertical dream, in brief shiftings to the future's heavy screen, he lay not by a dolorous decree, a victim in the dismal antre of death. He is no more now in the cave of death, the dismal, the gloomy, the grisly cave of death. It is not that he is living there in the cave of death, no more. A victim, he is not a victim there now, or born to blissful regions far from her. Well, he could be living in the den of death, in the cave of death. He could also be living happily in the immortal world, or born to blissful regions far from her, forgetting the sweetness of earth's warm delight, her contact, her relationship, the sweetness which they had together of the sweetness of the earth. He would forget about that thing and go and live elsewhere in the celestial zones, forgetting the passionate oneness of love's clasp, absorbed in the self-wrapped immortal bliss. He could live himself forgetting everything, his relationship with earth, with objects around him, all those who loved him, forgetting even Savitri, and he would live absorbed from everything in the immortal bliss. So either Satyavan would live in the cave of death, or Satyavan would live in the realms of felicity. But for Savitri now, with that new vision, he is no more that Satyavan. What she sees now is the eternal Satyavan with a halo of the sun around his head. In her visions and deep etched, in her visions and deep etched vertical dreams, in brief shiftings of the future's heavy screen, he lay not by a dolorous decree, a victim in the dismal anthill of death, or born to blissful regions far from her, forgetting the sweetness of earth's warm delight, forgetting the passionate oneness of love's crown, absorbed in the self-wrapped immortal bliss. Always he was with her. He would go for his work. He would go here and there, but he always remained with her. A living soul that met her eyes with closed, enamored eyes. A living body near to her body's joy. Savitri is already experiencing the closeness of Satyavan everywhere. Always he was with her, a living soul that met her eyes with closed, enamored eyes, a living body near to her body's joy. But now, no longer in these great wild woods, in kinship with the days of bird and beast, and level to the bareness of earth's brown breast. Now it is not in these forest surroundings where Satyavan and Savitri met, not here around where there are trees and forests and animals and birds and the hermitages and the rivers and the mountains. Not there. She is not meeting him there, but mid the thickening, thinking, high-built lives of men in tapestried chambers on crystal floors. It is elsewhere in the celestial palace, in the royal palace, in the majesty of life that Savitri is going to meet. But met the thinking, high-built lives of men in tapestried chambers and on crystal floors, in armored town or gardened pleasure walks, even in distance closer than her thoughts, body to body, soul near to soul, moving as if by a common breath and will. They were tied in the single circling of their days, together by love's unseen atmosphere, inseparable like the earth and sky. So it is not anymore now in the forest surroundings, but in tapestried chambers, in royal palaces, in the richness of life, in the opulence of existence here, It is there in the pleasure gardens. He is close to her, closer than thought would be close to her. Body to body near, always. Soul near to soul. If you are moving as if by common breath, they will be moving, breathing the same breath. They will be having the same will, moving as if by common breath and will. They were tied in a single circling of their days. They might be doing different works, but in the day's cycle, they'll be always tied together. Together by love's unseen atmosphere, always together, inseparable, the way the earth and sky are inseparable from each other, Dhyava and Prithvi, heaven and earth, the way they are inseparable from each other, in the same way, Satyavan and Savitri will live always together in the unseen atmosphere of love. Thus, for a while she stood, thus for a while she trod the golden path. Savitri is experiencing that oneness with Satyavan. This was the sun before the abysmal night. After the experience of the power established in Savitri, she sees that Satyavan and Savitri will always live together. But this was when, while she trod the golden path. This was the sun before abysmal night. Sun is there, he will come, but at the moment Savitri has to face the dark night, the abysmal night, the dread of the night, the dread of life, the fearful power which is present in life here. She has to meet that. Later on, she will live in a world of bliss, but at the moment, right now, she has to face the dreadful power. Once, as she sat deep in felicitous muse, Savitri and Satyavan, they are in union with each other. They are in a felicitous union with each other. Once she sat in deep felicitous muse, still quivering from her lover's strong embrace. Savitri is having great realizations, but human Savitri is still enjoying the passion of human life. Her lover is embracing her, pressing her close, and she feels the joy of it, still quivering from her lover's strong embrace, and made her joy a bridge twixt earth and heaven. But that embrace, that joy of union of the two human souls has such power that it can connect earth and heaven. It can become a link, a bridge between earth and heaven. Made her joy a bridge twixt earth and heaven. And abyss yawned while she was quivering, while the joy could bridge earth and heaven. What Savitri sees is an abyss, and abyss opening its jaw. An abyss yawned suddenly beneath her heart. She sees something dismal, something frightening, and made her joy. All right, her joy is a bridge between earth and heaven. By the way, this line, and made her joy a bridge twixt earth and heaven, is a very beautiful rhythmical line. And made, and am, her joy, and am, a bridge, and am, twixt earth and heaven, Spondi and Amphibrach. So we have got three I ams, and made her joy a bridge and a Spondi twixt earth and Amphibrach and heaven, as if it is that powerful line which builds the bridge between earth and heaven. While Savitri is in that state, she at once sees a deep abyss opening out its jaws to swallow her. A vast and nameless fear dragged at her nerves. Even Savitri, her human parts, her blood and flesh, they are still open to human state, are under the impact of the universal forces. A vast and nameless fear dragged at her nerves as drags a wild beast is half-slaughtered prey. A wild beast, a tiger, has killed a deer, and he is dragging that half-killed deer to his place. A vast and nameless fear dragged at her nerves. It is in the same manner that dread is attacking Savitri. As drags a wild beast is half-slaughtered prey, it seemed to have no den from which it sprang. Wherefrom did that dread arise, that beast of prey arrive? It looks as if it has no den at all to live in. Suddenly from some nowhere it is arriving. It was not here, but hid its unseen cause. That dread is not physically present here. It is not present even otherwise. Its unseen cause is a secret of existence. Then rushing came is vast and fearful found. Its cause is unseen, and suddenly from nowhere it is rushing from some secret found. A formless dread with shapeless, endless wings, filling the universe with its dangerous breath, a denser darkness than the night could bear, enveloped the heavens and possessed the earth. So the entire cosmic extension, earth and heaven, they are under the sway of this dread. A formless dread which shapes its endless wings, filling the universe with its dangerous breath, a denser darkness than the night could bear, enveloped the heavens and possessed the earth. A roaring surge of silent death. It came, curving around the far edge of the quaking globe. Curving around the quaking globe, it came like a surge, effacing heaven with its enormous stride. It wailed to expunge the choked and anguished air and end the fable of joy and life. When that dread would come, where would exist then joy of life? It cannot exist there at all. It is that kind of a dread which is now invading Savitri, a roaring surge of silent death, effacing heaven with its enormous stride. and end the fable or the joy of life. It seemed her very being to forbid. It would not allow Savitri to exist. It would destroy her, abolishing all by which her nature lived. It will knock off the very foundation of her nature, abolishing all by which her nature lived, and leave her to blot out her body and soul. A clutch of some half seen invisible, a hold, a grip of the half invisible. It is that which is holding Savitri. An ocean of terror and a soaring might, a person and a black infinity. So that is the description of the dread Savitri is experiencing. It seemed her very being to forbid, abolishing all by which her nature lived, and labor to blot out her body and soul, a clutch of some half-seen invisible, an ocean of terror and of sovereign might, a person and a black infinity. It seemed to cry to her without thought or word. It's not uttering any word. It is not giving out any thought also. Yet it is crying to her. What? It is giving the message to her. It seemed to cry to her without thought or word. The message of his dark eternity, this black infinity, this dark eternity, it is conveying something to Savitri. What? And the awful meaning of its silence is out of some sudden monstrous was arisen, out of an abyssal deep of grief and fear, imagined by some blind, regardless self, a consciousness of being without its joy, empty of thought, incapable of bliss, that felt life black and nowhere found his soul. A voice to the dumb anguish of the heart conveyed a stark sense of unspoken words. In her own depths she heard the unuttered thought that made unreal the world and all life meant. Such is the power of the dread. When Savitri hears that voice in her depths, what does she see? That everything becomes then unreal to her. It makes unreal the world and all life that actually means. The meaning is robbed. The world becomes an unreality. It is that power's voice, that dread's voice, which Savitri is hearing in her depths. A voice to the dumb anguish of the heart conveyed a stark sense of unspoken words. In her own depths, she heard the unuttered thought that made unreal the world and all life meant. Savitri had discovered her soul, the divine force, the consciousness force, its portion is established within it. But Savitri has to meet the challenge of the inconscient creation. Somebody rising from the nether depths is not going to accept his presence in the soul of Savitri. Savitri hears a voice, an ocean of terror and of sovereign might. That is what Savitri is going to face. An ocean of terror and sovereign might. A person and a black infinity. Soul is one with the divine. The divine has already established himself in the soul. But what about nature? The physical nature, the vital, the mental, the inconscient brood that we are. What about that? And it is not going to accept anything which will be coming from the higher source. Therefore, Savitri has to face a person, the black infinity itself taking the shape of a person, and that person is challenging Savitri. He is asking her, who art thou who claims the crown of separate birth? You think you are specially born here? This is the creation of inconscience. Don't think that there can be anything here apart from that. The illusion of the soul's reality and personal Godhead on an ignorant globe in the animal body of imperfect man. This is what you want to do? You want to claim in this illusion of soul's reality, in this ignorant world, in the animal body of imperfect man, that the divine can come and stay here? Is that the kind of a special birth you are asking for, you are desiring, you hope it to be here? Forget about that. It cannot be. Who art thou who claim the crown of separate birth? The illusion of thy soul's reality and personal Godhead on an ignorant globe in the animal body of imperfect man. Hope not to be happy in a world of pain, and dream not listening to the unspoken word and dazzled with the inexpressible ray, transcending the mute superconscious realm, to give a body to the unknowable, or for a sanction of that, or for a sanction to thy heart's delight, to burden with bliss the silent, still, supreme, profaning the bare and formless sanctity, or call into thy chamber the divine, and sit with God, tasting a human joy. Who art thou who claims the crown, the victory, the triumph? You are claiming that. Who art thou who claims the crown or separate birth? That you are somebody special. Who art thou? What do you think about yourself? Hope not to be happy if it is the separate birth, if it is the crown you are hoping it to be, then give it up. Hope not to be happy in a world of pain. It cannot exist here in a world of pain. And dream not to give a body to the unknowable. Unknowable is beyond the unknown, and you want to give a body to that, forget about it. Hope not that thing. It cannot happen in this world of pain. And dream not listening to the unspoken word. You are hearing some voice, some word, and you are going by that. And dazzled with the inexpressible ray, you are seeing light, some brilliance. You are dazzled with that. You are hearing some inexpressible word. All that which transcends the mute superconscious realm, to give a body to the unknowable, or for a sanction to the heart's delight, to burden with bliss the silent, the supreme. It is that silent supreme who is sort of happy there. Why do you want to burden him here with thy heart's delight in this creation? You are defiling, you are misusing, you are employing something unworthy for that kind of a thing to happen. Profaning its bare and formless sanctity. You are doing something unworthy. You are trying to give to the bare and formless sanctity a burden of bliss. You want to call down the chambers in this world, the divine, and sit with God, tasting a human joy in this human creation. While you are tasting human joy, you want to also sit along with God? Hope not to do that. Hope not to be happy in a world of pain, and dream not to give a body to the unknowable. Burden with bliss the silent, still, supreme, profaning its bare and formless sanctity, or call into that chamber, the divine, and sit with God, tasting a human joy. Hope not to do that. That is what that person, that black infinity, is telling Savitri. I have created all. It is this black infinity who has created all these things in conscience. I have created all. All I devour. I take back into myself whatever I have created. I am death and the dark, terrible mother of life. I am Kali, black and naked in the world. I am Maya, and the universe is my cheat. It is the dance of Kali that destroyed Paris in the early years of the Second World War. Kali in a naked dance. I am Kali, black and naked in the world. She wanted to destroy the whole civilization. She wanted to put the clock of destiny back by 50,000 years. And this is what happened. I have created all I devour. I am death and the dark, terrible mother of life. I am Kali, black and naked in the world. I am Maya, and the universe is my cheat. I lay waste human happiness with my breath. I breathe and whole human happiness disappears. And slay the will to live, man's will to live. It is that itself actually, the joy to be, that all may pass back into nothingness, and only absolute and only abide the eternal and absolute. The purpose of my activity or my actions is that only the eternal and absolute stays. Nothing, no creation of it at all. The absolute and the eternal is beyond his powers. He cannot destroy, change them at all. So they had to stay there. But what the absolute and eternal has produced, has given rise to, has created, it is that I can swallow and I can remove that thing totally. And slay the will to live, the joy to be, that all may pass back into nothingness and only abide the eternal and absolute. For only the blank eternal can be true. Whether it is white eternal or black eternal, that is not a thing. But a blank eternal is the only thing which is true. The rest is a creation which has no value, no content, has no reason to be there, cannot exist of its own. It is that I devour and lay everything flat, destroy everything. For only the blank eternal can be true. That is my charge. That is my work. Therefore I am death. I am Kali. I am Maya. I take these forms to remove everything that is created here. All else is shadow and flash in mind's bright glass. This is your mind which thinks of all these things, happiness, joy, ideas, forms, figures. It is your mind. It is a shadow after all. Mind, hollow mirror of which ignorance sees a splendid figure of its own false self, and dreams he sees a glorious solid world. This is the illusion of mind. A thing that is saying wonderful, beautiful, glorious, but it is not there. It is in ignorance that it sees things. Mind, hollow mirror, in which ignorance sees, it is ignorance actually which is saying through mind. A splendid figure of its own false self, of the false self of ignorance itself is what ignorance is seeing, and dreams he sees a glorious world. O soul, he is addressing to Savitri. O soul, inventor of man's thoughts and hopes, thyself the invention of the momentous stream. After who you are? You are yourself an invention of time. In the moment of stream you come and disappear. Illusion center of subtle apex point. At last know thyself from vain existence cease. So this is the voice of all dissolving absolute of black infinity, or the person who has taken a terrible form, who speaks like an ocean of terror, who has sovereign might in his possession. It is he who is telling to Savitri, you are yourself an invention of time. You are yourself an illusion. So you better know what you are, and your wisdom will lie in ceasing to be. A shadow of the negating absolute. This is that black infinity, that person, an ocean of terror and soaring might, a shadow of the negating absolute. The intolerant darkness travels surging past and left in her the formidable voice. It came like a rush, like a torrent, like an ocean, past her and ebbed away. It left behind her inner world. It left behind her inner world laid waste. The entire inner world which she has acquired, that has become waste. A barren silence weighed upon her heart. Her kingdom of delight was there no more. Her kingdom of delight was there no more. Only her soul remained. Its emptied stage answering the unknown eternal will. It is only the soul of Savitri who is going to answer to that black infinity. One who had taken that terrible form, a shadow of the negating absolute. It is her soul who can answer, awaiting the unknown eternal will. Then, from the heights, a greater voice came down. The word that touches the heart and finds the soul. The voice of light after the voice of night. Savitri heard the voice of night. In immediate succession, she is going to hear the voice of light. The word that touches the heart and finds the soul. The cry of the abyss drew heaven's reply. That's the greatness of Savitri. The cry of the abyss drew heaven's reply. The might of storm, chased by the might of the sun, the transcendental glory. It is from that source Savitri is hearing the voice. O soul, it is telling Savitri, bear not thy kingdom to the foe. Expose not what you have newly gained to the enemy. Let the enemy not know that. Hide it from him. Consent to hide the royalties of bliss. This is your royal position, great position, majestic position. Don't expose it to the beggars. Let time and fate find out its avenues and beat the thunderous knock upon thy gaze. Hide what you have gained so far. Hide while thou canst that treasure of separate self. Behind the luminous rampart of thy depths, till of a vaster empire it grows part. Till of a vaster empire it grows part. Savitri has discovered her soul. The divine consciousness force is seated in it. But that is the siddhi of an individual, a realization of an individual. It has to become universal. If it has to become universal, Savitri has to first meet the challenge of the dark infinity. One who opposes the absolute rule, the rule of light here. She has to meet a challenge, and therefore, when she meets a challenge and establishes her realization in the vaster context, till of a vaster empire, it grows apart. Savitri has to go further. From the individual, she has to now see the entire problem of this opposition in the context of the creation. The problem, the challenge faced by the denial, by the doom, one who arose from the abyss. It is a challenge which is essentially the challenge in the context of the necessary universalization of Savitri's realization. Individually, she has gained all. She has to gain it now for the cosmos, for the universe. So last time we heard the voice of black infinity, the voice of night, of the intolerant darkness. He was asserting that nothing can exist here except the blank eternal. He is there to devour everything. He is death, he is Kali, he is Maya, and he is there to lay waste human life and human existence. Nothing can stay here. Nothing should stay here. Nothing will stay here. That is his assertion. What can abide here is only the eternal and absolute. The rest is only blank. All else is shadow and flash in our minds, a dream of our souls. Our soul is the inventor of our hopes and longings and our desires. Savitri heard this voice, but soon following this voice, she also hears another voice. Savitri is a person who at every important stage of her yogic life gets divine guidance. She is fully open to the divine source of hers, and at every stage she receives the necessary instructions. This is one of the most important instructions Savitri is going to receive, that she must annul herself totally, that only God be. The rest should not count for her at all. Awaiting the unknown eternal will, Savitri is there. And then from the heights, a great voice came down, the word that touches the heart and finds the soul. That voice is directly entering into the soul of Savitri. The voice of light after the voice of night. The cry of the abyss drew heaven's reply. A mighty storm chased by the might of the sun. And what does that voice tell? That voice tells to the soul of Savitri, O soul, bear not thy kingdom to the foe. Don't expose yourself to the enemy. You have won something very precious and guard it from the enemy. O soul, bear not the kingdom to the foe. Consent to hide the royalty of bliss, lest time and fate find out its avenues and beat with thunderous knock upon thy gates. Kala and Niyati, time and fate, they will be chasing you to seize that royalty of bliss which you have won. They would like to snatch it away from you. Kala and Niyati, fate and time, they would like to snatch it away from you. Consent, therefore consent to hide thy bliss. Hide whilst thou canst the treasure of separate self. You are somebody unique, somebody distinct, somebody who will be haunted around for the precious things which you owe. Behind the luminous rampart of thy depths, till of a vaster empire, it grows part. Take care to conceal it from the enemy. Hold it back till of a vaster empire of the cosmos, of humankind, of this creation, it grows, it becomes a part. But not for thyself, but not for self alone. The self is one. Yes, you have won something. You have to hold it back also. You hold it till things are properly advanced, till things have made progress. Hide while thou canst the treasure of separate self, but not for self alone. You hide it not for yourself, for self alone. That self is one. Content abide not with one conquered realm. Yes, you have conquered one realm. Don't be happy, don't remain contented with that. You have to conquer the whole creation. The enemy who stands against it. Adventure on to make the whole world thine, to break into greater kingdoms, turn thy force. Presently, we had the kingdoms of ignorance, of suffering, pain, misery, death. We had to conquer the kingdoms of knowledge, of truth, beauty, love, joy. Adventure on to make the whole world thine, to break into greater kingdoms, turn thy force. It is for that purpose, at this stage, at this moment, you hide back, hold back what you have won. Fear not to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. It is a part of pragmatism to be nothing so that you become all. Fear not to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. Ascend to the emptiness of the Supreme, that all in thee may reach its absolute. All the qualities which are there in you as a human, those qualities have to become absolute in the supreme sense of the spirit. And for that purpose, hold back your precious gains. Ascend to the emptiness of the supreme. Well, that really seems to be the whole purpose, whole meaning, whole occult content of nirvana. Buddha's nirvana is for that purpose. Ascend to the emptiness of the Supreme so that all may be yours. Fear not to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. Ascend to the emptiness of the Supreme, that all in thee may reach his absolute. Accept to be small and human on earth, interrupting the newborn divinity, that man may find his utter self in God. That is the whole purpose. Interrupt the moment so that man may find his utter self in God. That is the whole idea of this nirvana into which you must enter. If for thy own sake only thou hast come, if it is for your own sake, for your personal individual gain, you have come here. If for thy own sake only thou hast come, an immortal spirit into the mortal's world, you are immortal. That is your home, native place to live there. You have accepted the mortal's world. If for thy sake only thou hast come, an immortal spirit into the mortal's world, to found thy luminous kingdom in God's dark. Why you have come? Why this immortal has taken this mortal birth? To found kingdom, luminous kingdom in God's dark. In the inconscious realm, one shining star, one door in the ignorance opened upon light. Why hast thou any need to come at all? If it is for one door of escape, you have come here, then you actually have no need for that, because by native right you possess all those things, and therefore it was not necessary for you to have taken this human birth. You have come for something else. You had to here in this world something which will be not only for you but for the whole mortal creation. Thou hast come down into the struggling world to aid a blind and suffering mortal race. That is the purpose of your birth, to aid a blind and suffering mortal race, to open to light the eyes that could not see. The mortal eyes cannot see that light. You have come here to see that those eyes open out. To open to light the eyes that could not see. To bring down bliss into the heart of grief. To make thy life a bridge fix earth and heaven. You are the link between this creation and the celestial realms. You have come for that, to make thy life a bridge betwixt earth and heaven. If thou wouldst save the toiling universe, the vast universal suffering feel as thine, thou must bear the sorrow that thou claimest to heal. You must accept the sorrow of this. Unless you accept the sorrow of this world, how can you heal it? How can you cure the disease unless you suffer that disease? The day bringer must walk in darker night. He who saved the world must share the pain. Human comes here, the incarnate comes here, takes human birth. in order to share the pain of human life. In order to share, because only by sharing that pain can be removed. He accepts ignorance. Only by accepting ignorance that it can be removed. If he knows not grief, how shall he find grief's cure? If far he walks above mortality's head, how shall the mortal reach that too high path? If one of theirs scale heaven's peaks, men then can hope to learn that Titan climb. If a human being can climb that tall peak, that difficult peak, then there is a possibility of the rest of them to make an attempt. You have come here, taken human birth, and unless you do that, how can others do that? You are the only one who can do that, and you must do it. If one of theirs they see scale heaven's peaks, men then can hope to learn that Titan climb. God must be born on earth and be as man. That man, being human, may grow even as God. He who would save the world must be one with the world. All suffering things contain in his heart's space. He must hold all suffering things in his heart and bear the grief and joy of all that lives. He who would save the world must share the pain. He who knows not grief, how can he cure grief? If he walks above mortality's head, how can others? If he cannot walk above mortality's head, how will others? If one of theirs they seek scale heaven's peaks climbing, man then can hope. This is what the human Savitri has to do. It is not the omniscient goddess in the skies who would come down and do it. She would not do it. She has to take the mortal birth and then do it. Omniscient goddess, she came into our skies repeatedly. Dawn after dawn had come. The divine afflatus arrived here. But again and again, the messenger went back. The immortal may make an attempt to change things here, but he has to go back. He goes back. Number of attempts were made and things didn't materialize. It is only when that immortal takes a mortal birth, when comes down as Savitri, human Savitri, that things can move. So there is a difference between the omniscient goddess attempt to do something and the incarnate Savitri doing something. It is incarnate Savitri who alone can save this creation, can conquer death and suffering from this world. He who would save the world must be one with the world. All suffering things contained in this heart's peace, and bear the grief and joy of all that live. His soul must be wider than the universe and feel eternity as its very stuff, rejecting the moment's personality, know itself older than the birth of time. It came here long before time was born. Creation, an incident in his consciousness. He has to take human birth. He has to know that his birth is older than the birth of time. He must know that this whole creation is but an incident in consciousness. Creation, an incident in his consciousness. Arcturus and Belphegor, grains of fire, circling in a corner of his boundless self, the world's destruction, a small transient storm, and a calm infinity. It has become Arcturus and Belphegor in his reckoning are grains of fire, nothing, tiny little things only. Arcturus, one of the brightest stars in the sky, star not too far away from us, 36.7 light years away from us. It is a star in the constellation of Boetis. And it was known to the ancients also, since ancient times. The Greeks called it the guardian of the bear, guardian of Ursa, bear Ursa, and Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Belphegor, one of the 7 princes of hell. So these great figures, the great objects, the great beings, they are in the totality of this existence only small grains. Know thyself older than the birth of time, creation, an incident in its consciousness. Arcturus and Belphegor, grains of fire circling in a corner of his boundless self, the world's destruction, a small transient storm in the calm infinity. It has become. Paris shall be destroyed. Paris shall be destroyed. That was the cry of Kali to the Second World War. She wanted to destroy Paris. It is that way the clock of destiny could be set back by 50,000 years. But then another force was set in opposition to that, and things took a different turn. And therefore, all that appeared was only a transient storm. The world destruction, Second World War, a small transient storm, and the calm infinity it has become. If Savitri could consent to that calm, then she would be doing something great. In fact, Savitri's advice was that if thou wouldst a little loosen the vast chain, draw back from the world that the idea has made. The world is made by life. The world is made by mind. The world is made by thought. It is not made by real idea. and therefore you have to draw back from this world for a while. If thou wouldst a little loosen the vast chain, draw back from the world that the idea has made, the mind's selection from the infinite, thy senses gloss on the infinitesimal dance, then shalt thou know how the great bondage came, why things are changed here. That you will know if you are able to draw back from this world. Banish all thought from thee and be God's void. That is the injunction Savitri is getting through the voice of light. Banish all thought from thee and be God's void. Then shalt thou uncover the unknowable, and the superconscious conscious grow on thy tops. Infinity's vision to thy gaze shall pierce. Your eyes shall look as would infinity would. Thou shalt look into the eyes of the unknown, find the hid truth in things seen, null and false. Behind things known, discover mysteries rare. What is there behind things? The mystery. It is that rare part of mystery. That is what you discover. Thou shalt be one with God's bare reality. God alone, God, God, God alone. Thou shalt be one with God's bare reality. And the miraculous world He has become. And the diviner miracle still to be. Yes, if you withdraw, draw yourself from all these things, then you shall be the miraculous world that has become, and the diviner miracle still to be, when nature, who is now unconscious God, translucent grows to the eternal light, her seeing, his sight, her walk, his steps of power, and life is filled with spiritual joy, and matter is the Spirit's willing bride. That is what will happen if you withdraw for a while from this. Thou shalt be one with God's bare reality. You will see life is filled with spiritual joy. You will see that matter is the Spirit's willing bride. Satyavan had a difficulty. He saw the self, but he saw that matter had not discovered its Lord. Matter is the bride of the Lord, and matter is still away from its Lord. But now, and matter, the Spirit's willing bride, if you withdraw from all this, consent to be nothing and none, dissolve time's work, cast off thy mind, step back from form and name, nama, rupa, withdraw from that back, annul thyself, that only God may be. Last time we saw Savitri receiving instructions from a Supreme Source, the voice of light chasing away the voice of night. and telling Savitri what she must do. She has found her soul newly. She must not expose it to the enemy. She must guard it. But apart from guarding it, she has to also do something which is significant, which is important, which is necessary for her work. Finding the soul, establishing the power of the soul, or the divine soul in her soul, is important, is necessary. But what about the nature, her human nature, vital, mental, physical, the subconscious, the inconscient, out of which this form she has taken? What about that? Soul and nature both had to experience, had to realize, has to establish in them the divine presence. Then only Savitri's work can become successful. It is in that context Savitri was told to banish all thought from thee and be God's void. Savitri was advised to be God's void. Savitri has to become the Shunya of Ishvara, God's void. She must annul herself fully, completely. No trace of nature should remain behind. That only God may be present there. When it is only the God who is present, then there is no power in the creation which can oppose it. That is the advice Savitri is receiving. Annul thyself, that only God may be. In the yogic realizations of Savitri, Savitri has been getting at every significant stage the divine guidance. She was told, do this, do this, do this, go like this, go like this. This is the last instruction Savitri is receiving from the divine source, the divine mother, the consciousness force herself who is telling human Savitri what she must do. Banish all thought from thee and be God's void. Be God's void, and then what will happen? She will discover, she will uncover the unknowable. In her, the superconscient will become conscious. Infinity's vision, it is through that she will look at things. Her eyes will see the unknown. She will find the truth which is buried under the falsehood prevailing here now. Find the truth in things, behind things known. Discover mystery. Savitri will discover mystery in everything, in all the things. This is what happened when Savitri shall banish herself and be God's void. She must consent to be nothing. That is the true nirvana, to be nothing, zero, absolute zero. She should be nothing, consent to be nothing, and none, dissolve time's work. All that had been happening until now, since the beginning of the creation, everything, time's work, till this moment, that must be dissolved. The past has to disappear. If the future in its true splendor is to arrive. Annul thyself that only God may be. Name, form, rupa, nama, whatever is there, all that has disappeared because they are part of time. So unless they go away, she cannot really have the true name established in her. She cannot really get the true form for herself. Form and name had to disappear. Consent to be nothing, dissolve time's work. Annul thyself that only God may be. Annul thyself that only God may be. That is the real meaning of nirvana, real significance. The occult charge is in that particular line. Annul thyself that only God may be. This is what the Buddha as the avatar has established. Every trace of nature, every element of times past has to disappear. When that disappears, then the true time can start moving onward. That is what Buddha came here to do, to remove the times past so that a new time opens out. That is the Buddhist nirvana. Annul thyself that only God may be. The mother sees the importance, the meaning, the necessity of achieving this inner yoga of the cells. The body transformation, she has to annul herself totally, that only God be what is present in the present cells, that has to be emptied out, and in that place the presence of God should be established. That is the yoga of the cells the mother had arrived at, and her success is entirely based on this particular occult yogic pursuit of hers, annulling herself that only God may be. Thy will alone, Lord, what thou willest, what you will. That is what the cells themselves are telling to the Lord, to the Supreme. In her revelation of 8th May 1965, the mother says about this line, she narrates the Savitri background of this line, Shivendu Savitri, where it occurs and what is the meaning of that. She says, first, Savitri meets her soul. She meets her soul in a house of flame. Savitri meets her soul in a house of flame. After meeting her soul in a house of flame, she enters into that house of flame and unites with her soul. She finds her soul, she enters into the house of flame and unites herself with her soul. She goes then into nirvana, unutterably effaced. Savitri has removed every trace of the inconscient nature present in her. She goes into nirvana, unutterably effaced, no one and null. She becomes a vanishing vestige like a violet trace. A faint record of herself. She was a point, she becomes a point in the unknowable. She becomes a point in the unknowable. She has totally dissolved herself. Yet that individuality, the true individuality of Savitri is present there in the unknowable. She was a point in the unknowable. It was a dreadful anguish. The mother speaks about her experience of the physical transformation, that it was a dreadful anguish, but at the same time there was such intense aspiration also, that this body had lived too long. Is it that this body has lived too long and it is not going to serve the divine purpose? Is it necessary that this body be dissolved? It has no longer the power of expression. The body is not in a position to express the powers of the spirit through it. And the body is said, but why, Lord? Why do you take away from me the power of expression? The body is asking the Lord, why He is taking away her power of expression? Because, is it because it has lived too long? Is it that has to be annulled? Only immutable peace can give eternal existence. The body has to realize immutable peace. Only then the eternal existence can establish itself in it. The idea is to cease existence. Existence has to go away in order to find immutable peace. Go away from existence and live in the immutable peace. Or could it be the other way around? But it is immutable peace that compels the cessation of existence. When the immutable peace is established, then there is no more existence. It is that immutable peace alone. It is that immutable peace which must be established in the body if true existence has to get established in it. In order to allow transformation to take place, this is what is required. It is immutable peace that compels the cessation of existence in order to allow transformation to take place. Therefore, the immutable peace first, then will come existence, then will come transformation. It is the very essence of love, love that is unconditional, which will be established in it. Again, In her prayer, in her revelation of 13th October 1965, the mother says, that's the state in which that exists, that state, in that state, body doesn't dissolve. Only ineffable way of establishing harmony. Let us read that 13th October 1965. There is a line in Savitri which says, annul thyself that only God may be. A very free translation, but the idea is there. And that's the state in which that can exist when you annul yourself that God alone be there. It is that state, and that's the state in which that can exist. And it is evident that the body doesn't dissolve. It is there. You can see it. And it is the only infallible way to establish harmony in the body, to establish the divine smile, the smile of the presence in the body. That is the only way to establish the smile of the presence in the body, by annulling that only God may be. All the rest, all the precautions, all the remedies, all that seems so futile and so inadequate. The only way for everything, annul thyself that only God may be. I do not have proof of the construction of something that had disappeared, that had been amputated or broken. I can't say, but logically it is the same thing. Annul thyself that only God may be. It is the only infallible way to establish harmony in the body. The smile of the present. It is that alone which makes transformation possible.